Book of Numbers. Okay, so we have gone through Prince of Egypt style. Moses has brought everyone out of Egypt. He's freed them. It's been great. And then all of a sudden, all these really bad things start happening. Like the Egyptians go, we want them back. So they try to go and capture them again. God splits a sea, crashes it on them. And then the Israelites, oh, that was great. Now what? How are we going to eat? God starts sending food from heaven. He starts like guiding them day and night. And then they get to this base of a mountain and God gives the 10 commandments. And then the book of Leviticus is a series of rules of life and how to go away from death and how to set yourself up for success. He's kind of building a nation right here. He's setting up governments. He's setting up tribes. He's setting up all of this stuff so they can finally just go do the thing he originally asked Abraham to do, which was, here's a land. This is where I want you to live. Okay. That's all that's happening. It's crazy that all of this is building up to this one thing, which is just God trying to get us a house. Like, that's kind of what it is. Imagine you, like, I mean, the housing market's not far from this right now. But just to get a house, like God's got to he's got to kick your landlord's butt. And then he's got to get you a car. And then he's got to drive you to all these places. And you're like, but I don't even know how to buy groceries. He's like, okay, I'll just give you groceries. And then you're like, but then what am I supposed to do with the groceries? It's like, okay, cook it this way, do this, take a bath. He starts he's arranging the house. And now they're finally in this place where he goes hey, start moving towards this area. I've already laid it out. I've given you all the parameters. This is like bumpers on a bowling lane. It doesn't really matter as long as you start rolling forward. I'm going to get you there. You may not get a strike, but you're going to hit some pins. It's going to be a good day. Just go. And so God he tells Moses, hey, send out scouts to look at this new land, just to make sure everyone is aware of what's going to be coming up. And so Moses sends out 12 scouts from the different groups, the different tribes that are there. It reads like this in Numbers 13, when they come out and they give a report of what this new land, what this house looks like. And it says this: see what the land is like and find out whether the people who are living there are strong or weak, few or many. See what kind of land they live in. Is it good or bad? Do their towns have walls? Are they unprotected, like open camps? Is the soil fertile or is it poor? Are there many trees? Do your best to bring back samples of the crops you see. They have no idea. They're in a desert. They're just it's like us going to Canada. You've heard about it. Maybe you've been to Canada. But you're is it snow all the time? Do they really are they really polite? Are they I've heard about poutine. Could you get a sample of poutine? Is it gravy? Is it cheese? Is it fries? It's everything. It's great. That's what it is. This is okay, we're just going to scout out the land. Tell us what's there. And so these guys, these 12, they're called spies in this because that's right. Amen. They're a little sneaky. They're trying to get in without making a notice or letting the enemy know that they're intending to come in and invade. It's so that's why they're called spies. They're really scouting the area out. They get there, and one of the first things it says that they see is grapes and grapevines that are so large that it takes 2 of the spies to carry it back to the camp. It's so fruitful. We talk about Jesus providing wine. They're look at the wine we're going to make with these guys. It's it says it got pomegranates. The way that God described this land was a land flowing with milk and honey. And what the reference, what he's going is, this thing has the richest and sweetest flavor. It has the things that they would cook all their food utilizing milk. It was this resource that not only fed their children, but it gave them like the best version. It's like cake. They're like, it is the best. God's like, this land is going to be great. It's amazing. They come back. They're like, it's got everything God told us that was going to be there. It's got all the space. It's got all the fruit. There's plenty of water. We just came from slavery. This is great. Like, this is Cancun. We thought we were going to Canada. It's Cancun. Like, this is awesome. All inclusive stay. Like, this is what they're going through. And this is the report. This is what they bring back to Moses. This was the report to Moses. We entered the land you sent to us to explore, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. Here's the kind of fruit it produces. Look at these grapes. But the people living there are powerful, and their towns are large and fortified. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. The Amalekites live in the Negev, and the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites live in the hill country. The Canaanites live along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and along the Jordan Valley. Man, okay, it's super great, but someone already lives there. And not only that, someone who is bigger than us lives there. Someone who's already established themselves lives there. Someone, it's all good. It's exactly what we wanted, but now there's stuff in front of us. Now there's things that we need to fight and get over. Do you have anyone in your life that like hates popular things? Okay. Like, okay, I was this, okay. I'll raise my hand. There was a lot of like in high school, especially, I was that like bratty teenager that was just like, everyone likes it. Not for me. I just don't. Steak? I don't like steak. Like, you live in Omaha, you got to eat steak. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like, or how about this? What I hate is those people like who like don't like it, but they haven't even tried it. Okay, now because I was one, okay, now I hate these people. Like, okay, let me give you a reference. Like, these are the same people that like hate Taylor Swift but never listen to an album. Like, listen, Bad Blood is a banger. Like now we got like, come on, like, like this is like, that's what it's all about. Like, it's so like now they become these like evangelists of like how bad the thing is, but you've never even done it. You've never tried, you never listened to it. Some of you guys are like, Star Wars, I don't like Star Wars. Well, watch it, okay? Watch it with an open heart. Like, be ready for the story of Luke Skywalker. And then don't watch episodes 1 or 7 and 8. Anyways, so, but this is like, and here's the other thing. We have so many other things in our lives trying to tell us what to like and what not to like news stations, like either like the websites or like articles that pop up. Like Facebook just got rid of like what they called like their news like feed. That's how I used to get like news really quickly. Thank God. It was so like, it's incredibly biased. You'll only get the information that you're looking for. And so like, if you are already kind of afraid of something, like then you just continue to read things from people that were like, yeah, you should be afraid of that. And this, like, if you didn't like this, you're definitely not going to like this. So you just stop trying. Okay. Here's an Omaha specific one. Sushi. There are people in Omaha that haven't had sushi and they're like, I would never. And I'm like, why? They're like, it's raw fish. And I'm like, come on. Like, you got to try it. Like, it is the food of gods. Like, I think the promised land was just filled with hero sushi. Just ripe for the picking. Like, it was like Willy Wonka style, like from the trees. You could lick the walls, like it tastes like salmon. I love sushi, but man, it is like, that is kind of a weird one, right? It's raw food. There's like, no one's ever told you to eat something raw except for a vegetable, and then like you like, I'm telling you, you eat it. When you find the right sushi roll, it is like heaven opening up, and you're like, I found it. God, this is where you've been. This is where you've been my entire life. Here's what I found is like, all in our lives, what we've been taught what to do is to be risk averse. Like, we've been told at a certain point what to stay away from more than what to try, especially as we get older, because there was a time in your life where you were forced to do new things. How do I know that? You eat solid food right now. And there was a time in your life in which you didn't. And sometime in your life, a parent or a parental figure in your life said, start eating this banana, like, or start eating this vegetable, start eating this thing, and you spit it out. You bad child. Like, you, come on, our parents in here, you know exactly what that was like. Like, just like, or if you've watched like if you've watched the baby and the struggle to just get, if they were only on liquids, to get them to go to solids, man, but they didn't have a choice. Like, they don't got a voice. Like, you get to tell them whatever they want to do. Like, here's the other thing. Like, as you continued to grow up, like, you didn't want to be potty trained. Like, my sons did not want to be potty trained. I'm just telling you right now. Maybe it's a boy thing. Maybe it's a Wallace boy thing. Like, I had to set those little dudes on the toilet, and hold them there and be like, it's going in. Like, you are going, I am done wiping your butt. Okay, nobody. Okay, okay. I just wanted. There was a point in your life where you were forced to try new things, and then you got to this age where you did all of the new things that your parents did. You were reading books, you were playing sports, you were eating their food, you were drinking their drinks, you were going to their parties, their events. Like, some of it, like, you're going to their church, you're doing their things with their friends, you're going to that school, and now you're just doing all the things that your parents do. But then the stopgap was your parents stopped doing new things. So if your mom and dad don't like squash, guess what you never ate? Squash. You might love squash, like spaghetti squash with like some marinara. Come on, Corey, you with, yeah, like a little parsley, some garlic powder, like even just like butter noodle style, like it there, like a zucchini with yellow squash roasted in the oven. Come on, like, squash is good, like, but you would never try it because you didn't grow up with it, because your parents didn't like it. They didn't want to do that. Maybe your dad was afraid of heights, so you didn't go on roller coasters, right? Or maybe like mom didn't like large crowds, so you never went to a concert. And so they're just not for you. That's just not your thing. It's just not. And so why risk it? I don't know. I didn't do it. I've never done it. I've gotten through life without doing it. I'm just not going to do that. Right? This is the world that we're living in. And what we're finding out is that most of the things that we're risk adverse about, most of the things that we fear, are just from what people have already told us. I got a question. How much of what you fear is what people told you to fear? Now, listen, there are some things to be afraid of, but there is a lot of things that we just don't risk it. We don't do anything. We just let it be. This story right here of the Israelites and those 12 Israelite spies bringing back a report. These 12 people are representing a voice for 2 million people. By the way, this still happens today, right? We elect officials in office. We watch news stations. We participate in social media feeds, like whatever it is that we say, hey, whatever this person said, I'm going to let it inform 2 million people. Well, let's just speak for the Omaha, like, metro area, Council Bluffs, all the surrounding area. It's a little over 1 million people that impacts. And we elect people to be a single voice for all of us, whether we like it or not. And that's the same situation here. So what we read in the story is that there are 2 people out of the 12 that go, yeah, there's enemies, but there's so much more. No, this is our home. We can do this. 2 people, their names Caleb and Joshua, they step out and they go, yes, it's dangerous, but there's hope. There's more. Like, and if we have to fight people, then if God took us out of Egypt where we were slaves, he could do this. This is no problem. We're 2 million people. Like, they're definitely not that. But then there's 10 risk adverse people that go, Joshua, Caleb, I don't know what you guys saw, but we're not going to risk the lives of everybody just because you think it looks good. No, 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 no. We're not going there. And here's the rub with these 10 people. They're not wrong. Like like for the greater good, why risk it? Like why put people in that situation? Right? So like these Israelite people, they're only 1 year out of slavery. And for several generations have only known captivity and slavery. Some of them just regained their appetite from being malnourished their entire lives. Like some of them have just gotten used to drinking fresh water for the first time. Some of them are just now relearning a trade. They've been laying brick after brick their entire life, and now they're learning how to farm and take care of their families. Go to war? No. Their blacksmiths are making plows, not swords. And you want us to go into this land filled with giants? No, not a good idea. The reality is when we face these things in our lives, when we come up against these trials, the odds are against you. The odds are against you in this stuff. I know we just went fun and then now we just dropped it, but like we know this. The reason why this weighs so heavy is I bet if we just polled everyone in this room, there is something that feels like the odds are against you. Maybe it's as small as just how difficult it is to do the 9 to 5 job and go through that. But then add a kid on top of it, add a marriage on top of it, add dating on top of that, add any of the stuff. And suddenly the odds are against you. And what are you supposed to do with that? 2 out of 12 people said, go. It's like reverse dentist commercials. You know what I'm talking about? 9 out of 10 dentists say this toothpaste is good. I want to meet that one guy who's just like, this makes your teeth yellow. Like what that is, 2 out of 12 is 16%. Anyone like those odds? 16%. 16. Okay, here, let's put it in your world. 16% chance that if you go in tomorrow and ask your direct manager for a raise, they're going to give it to you. But 84% chance they're going to fire you for asking for it. Who's asking? Okay, right. So why ask? Why go? Why do it? 16% chance you address that marital problem. That thing underlying the arguments, the issues, the stuff that you just kind of, we'll work it out. Just not right now. We got too many things going on. And then there's an 84% chance that it's just going to start a whole new fight. Why rock the boat? Why do it? The odds are against you. So, like the rest of us, like me, I'm here. Like I'm with you guys. This is a message for me too. Like the rest of us, the whole Israelite camp, they go, 16% chance we win? No, we're not going. And so they side with the 10 people that say, don't risk it. Let's just stay where we are. Let's just do what we're doing. And so this is Numbers 14 right here. Let's pull this up. The whole community began weeping aloud, and they cried all night. Their voices rose in a great chorus of protest. That's what they're saying is like there was a unanimous voice singing like a choir, like all in harmony. No, like we're not going, Moses. Like their voices in a great chorus protest against Moses and Aaron. If only we had died in Egypt or even here in the wilderness, they complained. Guys, they haven't even stepped into battle. It was just the proposition of struggle. If only we had died. We didn't know it was going to be this hard. Why is the Lord taking us to this country only to have us die in battle? Our wives and our little ones will be carried off as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to return to Egypt? Then they plotted among themselves, let's choose a new leader. and go back to Egypt. The When I met Natalie, she had just moved from Kentucky, and she have you guys she's not here. She would have found this funny. Have you heard that old phrase, you can take the girl out of or you can take the girl out of country, but you can't take the country out of the girl? What that means for my wife's from Kentucky, what that means is that she like herds her children like sheepdogs. Like, all right, you gotta go this way, like this, and then like sometimes you gotta bark a little bit, like, and you gotta like nip them. Like that's how. Or like in our house we have like, she loves flowers, she loves like being around nature, and so we have flowers, but the vases are like empty whiskey bottles. Like, come on, hey, we're Kentucky, like, let's go. And and so, and then, she, one of her new favorite things, which I love, I think it's really cute, she gets like old Kentucky cookbooks that are just filled with like how to deep fry butter, like and so she has like those like laying out, so like she's not in Kentucky, and she, like, we live in Benson. Like there's no farming around us. There's none of that stuff. So she like brought the farm into her home. So like you could take her out of the country, but the country's always going to be in Natalie's spirit. Let's put this in the Israelite world. You could take the people out of Egypt, but you can't take Egypt out of the people. It is ingrained in their bones. It is still inside of them. So much so that whenever they come up against an obstacle, they immediately, hey, let's go back to slavery. Let's go back. Here's how I see this in our world. We come up a hardship in our life, and we're in a community, and then our response is, let's stay home. Let's isolate. Let's not tell anyone. Or you make a mistake and you don't want the shame of saying that you made a mistake. So just don't tell anybody. I'll handle it. We'll keep it in house. We'll do this. There's a story of Jesus after he is taken away to go to trial, and one of his like head disciples named Peter, he denies Jesus 3 times when Jesus really could have used an advocate, someone that would have said, hey, he's not who you're saying he is. Like, I've been around him his entire ministry career. He's helped more people. Let me grab some others. Let me tell a testimony. Let me tell you that this guy is not worth killing. Jesus needed somebody, and Peter has 3 options, 3 different times where somebody says, are you the one who follows Jesus? He goes, no. And they go, hey, you kind of look familiar. Are you Peter, the follower of Jesus? No. Hey, Jesus kind of needs something right now. Is there any disciples here who would be willing to help? And it says in the Bible that he curses. He goes, I don't know that. Beep, 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 beep. Like, he goes so far that he starts separating himself further and further, and Jesus dies. And Peter's response to this is go back to what he was doing before he met Jesus. So when Jesus comes back on the picture, he finds Peter in a boat fishing. For years, Jesus had trained him up to be the leader of the new church, and he faces a difficult thing, an incredibly difficult thing, and something that he did. He did something wrong. And he just goes back to what he knew before. How many of us in our situations, when we come up against a real struggle, a real problem, we just go back to our old ways? Man, some of us, we did the work to get sober, to get over addictions. Some of the addictions are like getting away from your phone or learning how to just fall asleep and like get some rest and all of this type of stuff. You did the work for that. But then a really difficult thing, like you got hospitalized for being sick or something like that. And instead of coming out of that with, okay, I gotta go through the struggle and I gotta keep that habit, we just settle back into old routines. And we just go backwards. We are the same people in this. Yeah, but here's God's response to the risk-adverse people. And this is a little bit of a warning for us in here, but we kind of know this. Numbers 14:26. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, how long must I put up with this wicked community and its complaints about me? Yes, I've heard the complaints the Israelites are making against me. Now tell them this, as surely as I live, declares the Lord, I will do to you the very things I heard you say. You will drop dead in this wilderness because you complained against me. Every one of you who's 20 years old and older and was included in the registration in the first part of Numbers, you will not enter and occupy the land I swore to give you. The only exceptions are Caleb and Joshua, the ones who did have hope. Okay, this is really, really important. Well, what God commands at this point and a little bit later on, he says, for 40 years, you guys are going to wander in the wilderness. The punishment of us not living with a little bit of risk in our life, doing the thing that God asked us to do, here's the punishment, is nothing. Nothing happens. Wander for nothing. I don't think it's any mistake that it was Joshua and Caleb who had a good report. You see, these guys we talked about last week, they come from very specific tribes of people who their very names have meaning behind it. Caleb comes from the tribe of Judah, which means to praise and give God glory. In Joshua, who later becomes the general of the Israelite army, his tribal name is fruitful, more, blessed. Like these two men, something in their culture, something in their spirit said, no, we understand that there's problems, but give God glory. Well, we understand that there's things taking away from us, but I'm believing for more. I see, I think the path of victory when we come up against risky situation, when the odds are against us, is the ability to give God glory and believe for more. When you're faced up with that insurmountable thing, the thing that would take someone else out, can you, in the middle of the struggle, give God glory? God, you're good. Yeah, I read the diagnosis. You're good. I saw the bill. You're good. I know the argument. God, you're good. And I'm not just believing that I'm going to stay and struggle for the rest of my life. I'm believing for more. I'm believing that you're sending me to a fruitful place. I believe that there's something more through this. I believe that we're called to worship through the struggle. We're given after this time and time again of different people in the Bible who understand this method. Look at David. David, it says when we meet him, that God realizes that he could be king, is that he is on the side of a hill worshiping God. And then he is getting attacked by bears and lions and wolves and still writing worship music. Then when he comes up against a giant, his response to the giant is, who are you to come up against my God? I've fought lions and I have fought bears and I will kill you today. That's what I'm talking about. It's not this false bravado. It's I know who's actually in charge. There's a land filled with giants. Well, good news. I'm a giant killer. This is what's behind you. Is that ability? There's another guy named Nehemiah, who God calls him to go rebuild the defensive walls against Jerusalem. And it says in the Bible that he gathered these men together, and because the enemy was so close to them, in one hand they held a trowel to lay bricks, and in the other hand they carried a sword. They had to get to work, but they also had to defend. They were ready to fight, but they had a job to rebuild. What about Esther? Esther, who would risk everything, her life, in order to stop the genocide of a whole group of people. And we go, oh, my voice doesn't matter. No, why would people listen to me? Why would they listen to Esther? She was just a young Jewish girl, but she stands up and says, this can't happen. I have to do something. Think of Jesus. The night before his trial, he's in a garden praying to God. We don't talk about this part of the Bible too much. Praying to God, if there's any way that this struggle, this pain, this death could pass from me, and I could do everything you need me to do without dying for it, please, God. Please that. It says he's in so much anguish of what is about to happen that he's sweating blood. This is actually a medical thing that happens. You could read up that stress induced that it looks like blood is pouring from your face because of out of the pores. Like that's the level of stress and pain that he's in. But then he goes, but God, your will be done. If this is what I have to do, if this is the battle, I know what's on the other side is more. I know on the other side is something better. See, I don't want us to be people who just wander with nothing. But this whole generation of Israelites who can't get Egypt out of them, this is what they're destined to. Nothing. For 40 years until every single one of them passes away. I think this was actually an act of mercy on God. Because if they were to go in there, they wouldn't believe that he could do it. And what they thought was going to happen would happen. I don't think he's placing a curse on them. I actually think he's protecting them. Oh, you're not willing to go on the journey. Okay. I'm not going to manipulate you. I'm not going to force you. In fact, the only thing I forced was your freedom. He still did that with his son, Jesus. The only thing he forced in your life was that he sent his son to give you freedom. But he didn't force you to make the choice of whether you're going to live with that or not. He just says, you don't want to do it? You don't want to live the potential? There's going to be a struggle. You don't want to live the best, blessed life? Okay, I'm not going to force you. I just want you to know it's just going to be wandering with nothing in a desert. I'll still be with you, but you just won't be living in milk and honey in Cancun. It's just going to be wilderness here. So here's what God doesn't give up. He never gives up on anything. He starts working on the next generation. He starts working on the next generation of people. And so after this, they're not allowed into the promised land. They begin their wandering. And here's the really cool thing that kind of happens, and we see this in our lives too, is the Israelite people actually start going to battle in these like little mini battles, like these little mini skirmishes, and they get bigger and bigger. You can read this all, like it goes like Numbers 15 through about 20. It's just a series of different battles that are read through right here. And God starts preparing the next generation of warriors, of priests, of prophets, of generals, because he goes, hey, what your parents didn't do, you're going to do now. Your parents didn't make it through. Now, I didn't say the battle's done. I'm saying now you're going to go to battle. And where your parents weren't confident because they didn't know how to fight, I'm going to teach you how to fight. What generation are you a part of? You know you get to choose. At any point in your life, you could be 80, living those final years, and decide that the generation that you're a part of is the one that decides to fight. You could say, everyone else stood on the sideline, but I'm getting in the battle. The benefit of being younger is you get to be in the fight longer. You get to do more. You actually get to see the promised land. You get to do more. You get to celebrate these battles. Can I tell you, I don't know. I do know. I want to celebrate you guys here today. There are battles, there are struggles in your life right now, and you're fighting. You're doing it. One of the best things about being a pastor is people, which I love this. I want to encourage this. People talk to us about what they're struggling with. And we get to just be like Pastor Natalie and I, we just get to be a little voice in your life that says, keep going. You're doing it. If I can encourage you, if I can encourage you guys in this room where you're facing a battle right now, as many people as I know that are fighting battles, I know 3 times as many that aren't. I've had these conversations too. These are the ones I hate. If I can just be vulnerable, honest pastor moment, one of the most heartbreaking things is to hear someone say, I don't know, I'm just not trying anymore. That doesn't mean they're done or over. It just means right now life just hit too hard. And here's the problem. Instead of wandering, they just go back to Egypt. It was easier when I was a slave. It was easier when I didn't have to try. You see, I think if we could change our perspectives of these struggles, that they're not punishment, they're preparation. The battles, these little mini skirmishes, they're not struggles, it's strengthening. If I can kind of give a little tag right here so that you guys can remember this, these are not trials, it's training. There are some really big battles that are happening in your world. Most likely, they're internal. And these outside battles, those are just training. You know that time where someone offended you and you just didn't want to forgive them? You didn't want to show them any grace. They didn't deserve it, in fact. Can I ask, is this just training for the battle of you learning to forgive yourself? Remember that person who just didn't treat you well, made you feel unloved? And that battle of it, was I really wrong? Was I really not worth loving? That's the real battle. That's the real thing in here. Here's the thing. I don't want us to be stupid and just go do risky things for the sake of it. I don't believe in that. Those like danger seekers or things. I don't, makes my stomach turn. But I also don't want us to live the wandering life. And so let me end with this encouragement right here. After all of this, we're not going to read this part later on as we're finishing this book. This is from the book of Joshua. Joshua is one of the people that was spared, and he is now going to be the new general. Moses has died. Aaron has died. The whole generation has died. And then Joshua sends out a message to the 12 tribes. They all have brand new leaders now, brand new people who have been fighting battles almost their entire lives. And he sends out this message, hey, we're going to go into the promised land now. This is our time. And this is their response to Joshua. They answer Joshua, we will do whatever you command us. And we will go wherever you send us. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses. And may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. Anyone who rebels against your orders and does not obey your words and everything you commanded will be put to death. So be strong and courageous. Their parents' response to the call to go into the promised land was a chorus of people saying, why did you do this to us? We're going to go back to Egypt. The next generation, what generation are you a part of? The next generation, they hear the call to go to the promised land and they said, let any naysayers die. We're giant killers. We've been training our whole lives for this moment. This isn't a risk anymore. This is just life. This is what we do. I don't know what it is in your world that it wants to take you out. But if something is trying to take you out, if something is trying to put you on the sidelines, it means you have a great purpose on your life. It means you're supposed to do something. It means you're supposed to be a risk taker. You're supposed to do things that only look like it's a 16% chance that it's going to work out. You're supposed to ask for that raise. You're supposed to lead people. You're supposed to break generational cycles. That is who you are. So what generation are you a part of?